Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for another match of the Rugby World Cup. This one taking part in Pool A after we already have seen one of those matches for this weekend. Looking through at the way that the table sits, Italy currently at the top of the bunch. They have got 2 wins from 2, and in both of those games, receiving themselves a bonus point. France are sitting in second. They have got their third match up here. New Zealand in third. Uruguay and Namibia, they are yet to get themselves a victory. But if somehow Namibia were able to cause an upset here up against the French, that would certainly change things around just a little bit. Also looking at Pool B very quickly, a few of those games taking place in the near future with, of course, Springboks taking on Ireland. That will determine who more than likely finishes at the top of the bunch at the end of round number 3. Looking through at this French side, they have gone with a strong lineup here. They have not done what they did last week up against Uruguay and underestimate their opposition in hand, and this is going to be very exciting game. Silla Bay at number 1, Pietro Malvaca gets the start at 2, and Yui Antonio as the number 3. Cameron Waki and Flemont is in the lock and duo. Cruz at 6, Charles Olivon at number 7, and Anthony Jalonge at number 8. Dupont and Jalibert as the 19 combo. Dante is back. That is the big news for the French in this week, because they are a dangerous side, and even that little bit more dangerous when Dante takes that number 12 jersey. Galfiku on the outside at number 13. It will be Belbari, Damien Pinot, and Thomas Ramos, the men in the back 3 for the Namibians. They have also made a couple changes compared to what they did have in their last contest. Seti is still at number 1, although he did come off the bench in the last game to get the first start of the World Cup, though. In round number 1, it will be Louis van der Westerhuizen at number 2, and Kutsia remains as the 3. Chirico, I believe it is. He is at number 4. That is due to the injury that we did see last week. Unfortunately, broken leg, which did mean that they did have to switch him. And Ludic at number 5. Ketchiko at number 6. Retief at 7. And Galseb at number 8. Thiron and Lubsa will be the 19 combo. Berger and Daizel in the midfield. Grayling, Mouton, and then also Vandenberg at number 15. But this young Namibian side, I feel like they'll approach this game like they have for all of the other contests in this Rugby World Cup. They have nothing to lose here. So if they can put in a good performance, maybe even cause a little bit of an upset, that is exactly what the Namibians will have in mind. We have got the hello, bro. Hello to Auntie Donna and Uncle Two, says Michelle. Welcome in, Michelle. Hope you're doing very well. Hi, everyone. Hope we have an entertaining match. Mesko on the cards here, Saturday player. And hello, Mr. Commentator. Good to see you again, says Stull. Welcome in. Here says Caitlin. Welcome in as well. You are excited for all the matches we've got this weekend. Of course, a lot of people talking about that big one between Ireland and South Africa. There are a few good games, though, taking place before we get there. Good morning, Amish. Loving all this rugby, says Rooster. I can tell you right now, my sleep schedule this week has been worse than last week. I've somehow managed to almost confuse northern and southern hemisphere with my sleeping. So I'm hoping we're fully energized throughout the whole weekend, but we've been doing some weird hours. We also poured concrete yesterday. The body's feeling that, but should be all fresh, ready to go for the weekend. I'm hoping for a surprise Namibia draw. That French is on point, Amish, says McCallum there as well. Thank you very much. But this French side, I'm curious to know how Belbari goes in this game, because I mentioned about it in that Springboks versus Uruguay game. That's a lie. They didn't play Uruguay. They played Romania. There were players in that game that got a little bit too selfish at times, and I hate saying that, but I feel like Belbari, at this point, he has not proved me wrong in terms of being a player who will not pass, who will not look to help his teammates out, but instead is looking to get himself his own tries. If they had Gabin Villiers in the starting lineup, I would have said the exact same thing. So I'm curious to see how he works here, because France looking forward, they'll want a team player. They'll want someone who's going to be willing to set up the teammates rather than going themselves. And I feel like that's what Namibia have got at the moment. We don't see them score many tries, but when they do, it's normally off the back of a team set play that does get them there. Bonjour, Monsieur Hamish from Cape Town. Yes, says Albert, and I'm hoping for an upset, says Clive there. Yeah, so far in this Rugby World Cup, our biggest upset we have seen was the Fijians beating the Australians, but that really huge upset we are still yet to see in this World Cup. So, of course, everyone is waiting for it. Intrigued to see what game it will be. But looking through at the French recent fixtures, as you can see, not too many upsets there. 5 wins from 5 for Les Bleus. Of course, one above that, they did play the Scottish, and they were actually defeated in that game. And that game took place in Scotland, but since then they've beaten Scotland, Fiji, Australia, New Zealand in the opening game of the Rugby World Cup, and then Uruguay in what was a lot closer than a lot of people anticipated. That was the game last week, 27 points to 12, and I believe from that game, France have put in a lot better side here because they realised they cannot underestimate these smaller teams, because if you do, that is normally when you do suffer. That defeat, looking at Namibia's recent 5 fixtures, they did have themselves a close game up against the Argentina XV, also close games up against Uruguay and Chile, in which they were able to win that game up against the Chilean side. They did lose to Italy, but they scored themselves a try last week up against New Zealand. They got extremely close. It was just those handling errors inside of the 22 that really hurt the Namibians. They'll be looking for more than one try here, try and make a record for themselves in this contest. In the chat, we have got there, hoping Namibia will win. Says Eugene, and I keep it there. So much thanks for giving us fantastic service. Says Ruth, no worries at all. And of course, we have still got plenty more games happening over the weekend, ladies and gentlemen. So if you are new to the channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Looking at the upcoming games that we have got for ourselves. Of course, we are here at the moment with France versus Namibia. There is Argentina versus Samoa. That is New Zealand time, 3:45 a.m. Georgia versus Portugal, England versus Chile, and then South Africa versus Ireland, all taking place on the same day. We will be there from start to finish. You guys know exactly what is happening in those matches. Then 2 big matches actually taking place on Monday. That'll be Scotland versus Tonga. Now, if there is any chance for either of those sides to make their way through to the next stage of the competition, they need to make sure that they win that game and they win it comfortably. And then Wales versus Australia, that game's a little bit in the same boat. The Aussies, it's a must-win for Wales. If they can secure that one, then they will be going through to the next stage, more than likely. And then Australia, Fiji, they will be the 2 sides that are trying to end up just that little bit higher. Looking at the table, while we are at it, we might as well look at what's happening on the other side of the draw. As you can see, that is wrong. Is it? Is that wrong? No, that might be correct. No, it's not. England have got 2 wins. Never mind. That one is a little bit old. That part of it is correct, I think. Now I'm questioning, though. I think that's behind as well, because the Fijians are on 6. Never mind. We'll forget that photo. It's disappeared. That's the one we're after. Here we go. This is the right picture now. Fiji are actually sitting in second at the moment. England are on the 9 points. And Samoa in second on the 5, alongside Japan, who have also got themselves a 5. Argentina yet to win themselves a game in this Rugby World Cup, but this one could be a very good chance for them just around the corner. Ruth, missed your last match, says Caitlin there, and prediction for South Africa versus Ireland, says Nathan Barnes. We have got a preview coming out of that game a little bit more in the future, but I believe it will be a very close game, which annoys a lot of people. I've seen the amount of tension between those 2 sides all throughout the week. Anytime either team is mentioned in praise, the opposition side shut them straight down. They say, no, forget it. And that's been the case, whether it's a South African fan saying that they like what their team's doing, an Irish fan will come and say, shut up. It's the other way around. An Irish fan will say, I'm liking what Johnny Sexton's doing. South Africans, shut up. That's what they end up doing. So, yeah, it's interesting. Going to be a tension-filled game. So hopefully it is relatively close. I actually want it to be a draw. I feel like that's the ideal scenario. That way, neither side gets too mad, and that rivalry gets to grow just that little bit more. Please, Pumas, don't break my heart, says Mikhail. I had a flood in my house, which prevented me from listening to this great commentary, but I'm back and ready for the entertainment. I hope your week's been great, says Caitlin. So hopefully your flooding has all calmed itself down overall, Caitlin, and it has stopped. Is it flooding from the rain or from the sea? Out of curiosity, because I know someone said something about South Africa on the coast. There was quite a bit of roughness taking place. So I don't know whether that caused some flooding inland a little bit more. We've had a weird week as well. We had an earthquake just up the road, which was a bit strange. We don't normally get too many of those now, I guess. Let's just say, let's not say anything. Let's just see what happens. Says Dead Judith. Hello, mate. How's it? Says Miro, I'm doing very well, mate. Hope you are also doing very well. Yako has got the picture of the Rugby World Cup as his profile picture and has said hi. Welcome in. Brandon is here as well. We have got there. I'm going to be watching in an Irish pub. I'm a Box supporter. Pray for me. Says Nathan. Well, that will depend whether or not the Springboks are going well. Will depend on how much praying you need for yourself. Because if they are doing badly, theoretically, a lot of Irish people might be your best friend. You might make some new mates out of it. And we have got there. How's it, my favourite lad? Says Cockett's doing very well, mate. Also, I cannot understand why Namibia is so poor at rugby. They're sort of connected to South Africa and also neighbour sister. Well, it's pretty much completely down to the player pool that they've got available, the funding that is available. It is nowhere near as high as it is for South Africa. But I imagine if they did have the funding and player pool that South Africa had, Namibia would actually be very strong, because you look at what this group of players is able to do with the lack of funding, with the lack of players, and they are still at times competitive in the world of rugby. Broken my second dad. I just passed yesterday. I don't know about the Irish Bot game. He was looking for the Irish game, or looking for the Irish versus South Africa game. And I don't have the heart to watch. RIP Mikey. Hopefully I've said his name correctly, but RIP to your dad, or your second dad, Dennis. Thoughts and condolences. With your burst pipe, the rain didn't help, says Caitlin. And also, Caitlin says Yako, and also Caitlin, hope you had Wellington boots and a rubber ducky keeping dry. Says Ruben, believe me, Hamish, is not going to be a draw, says Mornay. I've heard that before. I think it was England versus New Zealand. I heard that exact same statement for when they played in about 2022. Everyone said, no way it's a draw. And I said, what if it is? And they went, no, get lost. And then it was a draw. Has there ever been any try in Irish and Bot clash? Says Miro. I mean, it's normally relatively low scoring, and the fact that both sides' defences have been as strong as they have been over the past 12 months, you'd argue that maybe 1 or 2 tries for both sides would actually be pretty impressive throughout that match. And Bot's waiting for Ireland, going to smash them physically, says Gary in there as well. I feel like we should take bets at this stage that game gets talked about more on this live stream than France versus Namibia does. And I feel like that would actually be a pretty safe bet. Just like backing the French to win this contest, they do come in as heavy favourites into this fixture, ladies and gentlemen. Don't worry, not talking tonight, says Robin there. Looking through at the upcoming fixtures for these two sides, I mentioned about for France how important it is to get themselves the victory. And the reason for that is they have only got themselves one game left after this. That is up against the Italians. They've got a rest week next week, and then straight into that game up against the Italians just before the quarterfinals. And depending on the result between Italy and New Zealand, that might be a massive game for the Italians if it does mean that they can progress through. For the Uruguayans and the Namibians, they are going to be playing next Thursday at 4:45 a.m. So an absolutely brilliant time for us here in New Zealand, but we will still be up and we will be covering it on the channel, ladies and gentlemen. If you are new, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Rugby is the winner, says Kurt. I disagree, says Anelli. Which one are you disagreeing with, Anelli? My prediction is 22-13 to South Africa. So that would be a close game, though, wouldn't it? And also, we have got the Hamish Brummer score is 36-16. France 92 to Namibia's 3, says Gary. We have got there, Caitlin, hope for the sake. It was a fresh water pipe and not a waste pipe, says Gus. And what's your score prediction of France versus Namibia? I think France are going to walk away with a comfortable win in this match. And my score, Springboks 27-14. And just some flooding at some beach roads in Clifton and some other places. If you are not if you are at a safe distance, it is okay. I have seen this happening years ago at Cape Fidel, South Africa. And I'm African go Namibia, says Robert in there. And South Africa with Ireland, a rugby test, how to play rugby, says Leon. Although, to be fair to the Irish, I don't think they really need that book, do they? They've been playing extremely well. 14-match winning streak. I think that the thing that's going to be interesting, for me anyway, as a neutral, is how both sides approach this game from a fan base perspective. I want to see respect between the two sides. We've seen a little tiny bit of that, but of course there's also a lot of trash talk that's happened throughout the coming weeks up till this game. And I just hope at the end of the day, both sides can go, our team went out there, they tried their best, and now we look forward to possibly meeting later on in the Rugby World Cup. But yeah, I hope it's played in good spirits rather than everyone just getting a little bit like we're in primary school and having a bit of a back and forth. South Africa, they won't walk over Ireland, says Penny Lane. And also, I hope the French don't score too many versus Namibia. Love to see the small country doing well. It's good for the game, says Dennis. And speaking of that game, it is just around the corner. France are going to be wearing their classic dark blue for this contest. And Namibia, they are in the white for this matchup. And it will be Namibia kicking off from left to right, ladies and gentlemen, for this game. Matthew Carley in charge of this one. Last game I remember he did was Wales versus Fiji. Let's hope for less penalties in this one. It'll be kicked off long, only 5 metres out from the line now. Thomas Ramos gets the kick away. We have got there France all the way running rugby tonight, and big score from France. And also we have got there Leon Janssen. Let's hope so. There's Roz Stahl there, but now it will be the line out for Namibia. Carly looking confused. That's not what you want to see from a referee 27 seconds into a game, but thrown in by Van der Vesterhuis, and the ball is loose, picked up by Pietro Malvaca. Now Dupont going off to the right-hand side. The advantage is over for the knock-on. Galfiku firing it out wide to Damien Pinot. Does go for the chip, and behind it's beautifully taken at the back by the young fullback, Andre Vandenberg. Now looking for the kick in behind. It looks like it should just pull up in the in-goal area. Ball is forced by Jalibert, and it is going to be now a goal line dropout. Having Namibia on the ball to win is insulting to Namibians. I would know I'm Namibian. People who chose Namibia are only making jokes, says Johnny. Although people felt in their last game between Uruguay and France, there was a good chance that we saw the Uruguayans walk away. And the big thing is, it was 60 minutes in. That's when the fatigue set in. But for Namibia, if they can match the pace of France early, we know that they've got a physicality in their four-pack to be able to match most of the big sides. You look at some of these big guys, to Jericho and number 4. Going back across to the right here. On the halfway line currently, the French defensive line, they will be rushing up to try and shut down this Namibian backline. Nice step by Galfiku. Jonathan Dante back from his injury. If you wear Puma, does your mum wear Cougar? Says Gareth. No, she doesn't. I don't know of that brand. Sorry, Gareth. She also wears Puma, fun fact. Now it's going to be kicked in behind. Jalibert takes it inside of the 22. Now, big clearing kick. Oh, they've left that one, Namibia, and almost ended up being a 50-22 because of it. Now having to take it deep inside of their own area. It is Lupsa. Does put it into touch. And Go Neighbour says productivity by design. And also we have got our Hamish, bro, today's current temperature in Christchurch because you wear a winter jacket. Says Michelle, yeah, we're currently sitting 9 degrees Celsius, which isn't actually too bad, to be fair. Like, it could be worse. Definitely because it's raining and windy. Sorry if there's been, if this has been said earlier, this is a change for France to try a few different moves. A chance for them to try a few different moves and players. I hope Namibia get some points. Says KP. And also we have got there, says Gareth. I know what it means, Gareth. I just wasn't giving you any sort of excitement from it. Uruguay actually good though. No offense to the Namibians. Says Dead Tune. And also we have got there South Africa 24-12 of Ireland, says Wesley. Now scrum feed for the French. I'm off. Thanks for your great effort doing these games. Keep doing it. Great to see a bloke that loves the game, says Dennis. So we will see you later on, mate. I assume we will have you for one of these later live streams, whether or not that is Ireland versus South Africa, or maybe a couple of the other ones that are taking place throughout the week. But it has been great to have you here. Welsh in your dreams, says Penny Lane. Ball is going to be fed in. Namibia 40 metres out from their line, looking to build a couple phases, and they've actually had more possession throughout the early stages of this match compared to France, although now going for the box kick, it will be Theron. Down towards the 22. Thomas Ramos now looking to pin it straight back down the middle of the field into the 22. Bit of a miscommunication at the back from the Namibians. Now looking to run it out from inside of their own 22. It is the youngster Vandenberg again. And the penalty goes the way of France. Yui Antonio over the ball, but it was actually the side entry from Johannes Kutsia that does get him into trouble. In the vest. In the vest at 9 p.m. Says Robin. Score prediction name says Andreas. I think it's going to be, I would say, about a 50-point win by France. If they play well. The thing is, though, they could actually end up with a little bit of a closer fixture. And it looks like they are kicking for the corner here of the first penalty that they've won. Greetings from Botswana. The ancestors have promised Namibia 2 tries. But yeah, hi everyone. Good evening. Who is your favourite for this World Cup? Says Marco Brown. I am still thinking that, to be honest, the match between South Africa and Ireland, it's going to be very telling, but I believe one of those two sides will be doing very well in this World Cup. Are you read my mind, Roof? Got my rum and coke ready? There's Caitlin. I go from Cape Town, go Neighbour Brothers, Namibia. There's Red Howl in there as well. Right, 5 metres out in the line, Pieter Malvaka. Now to throw the ball in for Le Bleu. I want to get this rolling maul going early, nicely taken by Cameron Walkie. There's an advantage now, I believe, for the early engagement from the Namibians. Antoine Dupont looking for this ball at the back, although Malvaka doesn't want to give it up. Now Dupont strips it away from him, looking for the cross kick. Crossfield to Damien Pinot, who takes the catch one-on-one, goes round Vandenberg, and the first try of the match goes the way of France. And Damien Pinot, a very good option for the leading try scorer in this competition, does get his burst. Oh, the match. Oh, is that a Puma hoodie? Says Simran. It is indeed. The tried and trusty. I haven't got Puma pants on though. And that's because I got no pants. No, I'm joking. I've got different track pants on than the normal Puma, and hoping for a good fight from Namibia. Go on my Lion Bear and listening, and go Namibia, says Rudy there. And watch out, the bias referee from England is controlling the game. Matt bias referee Carly says Selena. Yeah, I did mention at the start of the game, hopefully we don't have about 15 to 20 penalties against one side in this game. Damien Pinot scores within the 6 minutes. And also we have got there, can anybody see past France? Says Irish one. I think quarterfinals is going to be interesting because they will either be playing more than likely Ireland or South Africa. And that is going to be one of those matches that if the French show up, they're going to be very tough for any side to beat. But if France do have a few weaknesses in their game, I feel like both Ireland and South Africa have got the ability of being able to break through. I was just rocking it, the Fuff Bucky Budgie Smugglers. Tell you what, it would be a bit cold to be wearing those. It's currently about 9 degrees Celsius, but, you know, I guess you got to be committed to the cause, don't you? We have got there France weren't sloppy against the All Blacks. Says Stahl. And France will give Namibia a hiding 60-plus points. Says Sean Lees. Yeah, but now the kick was unsuccessful from Thomas Ramos, I should mention. So sitting still 5-0 in favour of the French. Kick down deep, Thomas Ramos again. We'll put the big boot downfield, nicely taken by Lopsa, I should say. Nicely taken by Jalibert. Looking for the little chip and chase. He's had his ankles taken out from underneath him, but now claimed nicely by Namibia. We look for a 50-22 of their own. I think they might have put a bit too much juice on that kick, unless it hits the post, which it doesn't. It rolls dead, and now France will go right back to where it was kicked from. I don't see the French in the final, says Just. And Ireland here. I know France's game's impressive. You guys can be sloppy / ill-disciplined. Says, was Richard and Go Namibia, says Janison. During the years, Namibia played provincial rugby as they were seen as a South African province. They were a hard team to beat on home soil, says Ernest. And also France is going to win, but I hope our sister Africa team wins, says Skylar. I think for Namibia, it's just about once again going out there and putting on a decent show. If they can score themselves 2 tries in this game, it would be the most that they have been able to score throughout this Rugby World Cup so far. Jonathan Dunty's chin goes out further than his nose, and it's made of granite. Though he was injured recently, Jonathan Dunty, and that is a player that they do not want to leave out of their side as they move towards those quarterfinal games. Jalibert, he's been taken to that 10 jersey quite nicely as well, I will mention, since the injury of Intermac, probably who wins Saturday between Ireland and the Box. We then know the quarters, no disrespect to Scotland, says Irish one. And then now Jalibert going for the kick in behind. It looks like Belbari gets the bounce of the ball, throws it on the inside to Dante. Now, that is a brilliant try, and I think it's going to remain as the try unless this has gone forth from Belbari, but he passed the ball. That's the more surprising part, that he actually gave it off to a teammate. It's going to be 2 of the top 4 in the final. No idea who that will be, though. Says yesterday, we will win Saturday, may lose to the same team later, says Richard. Right, they just want to check whether or not Jonathan Dante has got this one from a forward pass of Belbari or whether it is one that has gone backwards. He does take that one, passes inwards. I think that's almost fine. Matthew Carley's nodding. He likes it. I think that's going to remain as a try here. Anyone else having their morning crap? Says Minty Tea. I am not. No, I had a banana before, which was a bit fancy for a breakfast. We have got the Hamish emojis from Roof and Shame Namibia. There's a mark. We will go like this. There we go. France now sitting 10-0 up over the Namibians after 9 minutes. However, we're going to lose to Ireland and beat Tonga. We play France, not terrible. Says bystander. We have got there Richard Morris. True. It's happened before. Namibia having another winless tournament. Says John. Though for the Namibians, of course, they'd love to be able to get themselves a win. I think their game up against Uruguay is going to be the most competitive one out of their group. But like at the end of the day, just to be in the World Cup is massive. And I always talk about it, how I don't understand the trend of putting the smaller nations down because like it just seems like, if your team's good, fair play. If the team's not so good, you should be getting behind them and supporting them so that they stay in rugby, so that they keep bringing more eyes and funding to the game eventually. And then it helps rugby grow as a whole. But yeah, I've seen throughout this tournament quite a bit, people are like, if you're outside of the top 10, don't talk to us, which is really weird. 12 points to nil now. That kick has gone over. We have got there as well, Puma Trash Boy. I got Ireland over South Africa. Says save 20 Gs in there. I feel like there's nothing really wrong with like Puma clothing as a whole. You should see my pants at the moment. Yeah, like unbranded. And I feel like you'd throw up in your mouth a little bit, which might actually be good. Maybe I should show you. And I actually look refreshed. Says Sean, yeah, I've been on a really weird sleeping schedule over this weekend. Empty the wheelbarrow on the clock. Says Obi and 75 nil incoming. Says Justin. I can't sleep waiting for this bloody Bok versus Ireland game on Saturday. Nervous but optimistic. Says Red Hal. Oh, downfield. Ireland will beat the All Blacks in the quarterfinal. That's assuming the All Blacks make the quarterfinal save. Bit of a brave bet there. Now going off to the left-hand side. Going across here nicely. It's going to be Lupsa again. This backline for Namibia has still been... Oh, he's passed that almost into the crowd. Namibia doesn't get the tie. Says Richard Morris. To be fair, France didn't get it either in this game. And I've been steadily improving, says just in case. And also, Hamish is always naked from the waist down, says Gareth. It's a lot more free-flowing. Just like I hope this commentary is as well. We have got there. Every game in the next rounds are intense and physical. South Africa do have a bunch of brutes who don't stop. There's Robin Phillips. And Ireland was a walkover in 1995, 1999 World Cup, says just in case. Of course, a little bit different now, though, with the fact that none of those players are playing in that game that are currently on the 14-match winning. Straight down Fiku with some nice stepping here, looking to get through the last line of defence. I think it was Grayling who was able to stop him. Oh, Le Bleu, 10 metres out from the line. Jalabert tries to go for the cross kick. It is charged down, but bounces perfectly back to Damien Pinot. I guess it's a casual Friday then. Says Richard. Yeah, and it is also only 7 a.m. here in New Zealand with the one game. We've got there South Africa beats France at the quarters. My prediction. Says save 20 GZ. We're spot on about the lesser sides. France took nearly 20 years to win a game in the Five Nations as well. Used to be when they first joined Food for Thought, says Akaris. Yeah, a lot of people expect these lower ranked sides that don't have anywhere near the players or the funding of the big teams to be able to beat the big teams week in, week out, which just isn't the case. Yes, it's nice to hope for those upsets every once in a while, and when they do happen, it's absolutely incredible, but consistently wise, it's only going to be a once in a blue moon thing for these lower sides. And that's why Japan in the last two World Cups have been a problem, because they have beaten South Africa and they've beaten Ireland in the last two World Cups. And everyone for those games, I guess that gives you that shock factor. Hamish only has 2 days to wait for South Africa versus Ireland, so we have 2 days to wait. Says John, and the jacket puts hands on the ground and get rewarded, says Annoy. The Jackler puts hands on the ground. That is one thing that I feel hasn't been refereed consistently throughout this World Cup, is the players over the ball. Sometimes you're allowed to have your hands on the turf and they say, yep, you're all good, mate. And then other times you have your hands on the ball and they go, ooh, you might not be good, mate. So it's a tricky one to judge. And it's right, except for Romania, everybody's looked decent. There's Richard. I'd say that those first moments for Romania up against Ireland, Rupanu and Valvasa throughout this tournament, I think has actually looked pretty strong. It's just in that last game up against the South Africans, they were able to shut him down pretty early compared to Ireland, who let him run a little bit. And I think he broke about 6 tackles, something like that in his first game. Fiji also a scary side. They are major underdogs that could upset. Stairs Just. Now Charles Olivon. It was a knock on from him to settle by. Have now realised it will now be the scrum to Namibia. France already run away. Those Roosters can fly too. And every single minute France score try. What a start. Stairs Michel. And I think the French under-20s team could have beaten some of those teams. And also we have got their sloppy seconds. Stairs Richard. Well, I guess the benefit was South Africa were able to see what Ireland did in that game up against the Romanians and then just improve on that and try and fix what went wrong in that game, which wasn't a lot, to be fair, for the Irish. The big difference between countries that play professional rugby and those that play amateur and no money will be always different unless your players get some exposure and play outside, says McHale. Exactly right. Hamish Pro Wallabies' current position in the group stage after the shocking defeat against Fiji. So they are sitting in third. They are on the same amount of points as Fiji, though. So Fiji need to make sure they win their last 2 games. If they do end up losing one of those 2, they may actually miss out on the group stage. Or sorry, the quarterfinals of the Rugby World Cup. And now Tehran puts the ball in for the Namibians at scrum time, and they have been able to retain their own ball. Now Berger, the inside centre. France haven't spent a lot of time defending inside of their half. Now Hamish is always exquisitely dressed up. And bottom, he's wearing his Nike track pants and his black leather disco pants. Says Roof. I'm not too sure about that. They are just, you're almost the color, well, not really the color of the green screen. They're kind of like camo-ish. So they probably wouldn't come up on the screen too well. England invented rugby, says Penny Lane. Indeed, William Webb Ellis back in the day, playing a little bit of football, said, I want to hold this ball. And he wasn't the goalkeeper. Now Galfiku, 22 metres out. That was a big shot coming in, and the ball has come loose. That maybe you should have. Ball was stripped, I believe. So it may actually become a line out for France here. It's going to be a blue line out referring to France in this game. Wasn't sure whose line out it was. So they have gone with the French. I know so. Says a Penny Lane and Vamos Los Pumas. Says Antero. Of course, they are going to be playing tomorrow up against the Samoans. That should be a very intriguing game because both of those sides need to win. Because at the moment, they're both sitting relatively close to each other. If Argentina win that game, they'll be almost neck and neck with the Samoans, whereas the Samoan, they can actually break away quite far forward. The pot inside of the 22. We haven't seen a huge amount of him as of yet, mainly because France's attacks have come from the line breaks. Morning, brother Hamish. Have an awesome day, mate. Namibia for the win, says Flanders. You too. Although it is evening for yourself, if I'm not wrong, or is it morning? Do let me know. Jalabert goes off to the palm on the short side, looks for the pass on the inside, looks flat, flicked on the outside, back inwards. Brilliant work from France. I think there may have been about 2 or 3 slightly forward passes throughout that move, but that cannot take away from the try for Charles Olivon if it does stand. Nice bit of work from the French to move that ball. Jalabert doing well at 10, involved in that play about 3 different times. Can't see why everyone is shocked by Fiji beating Australia, but expected them to beat Wales. Both countries have been poor recently. Says Fleshin. We are just seeing the wide angle. I think that last pass to Olivon may have gone forward just a little bit. I don't want to be harsh. I don't think we're going to see the angle that shows it, though, which is ideal for them. That might have showed it just a little bit there. But the try looks like it is going to stand for Charles Olivon. And the kick has gone over. So the score will now be 19 points to 0, 4:48 a.m. in Northern Territory, Australia, says Flanders. Oh, yeah, so you're very early morning for yourself then. It will be French going again. Says Ruth, can Italy progress? Maybe they can beat France and get the bonus point versus New Zealand. Also says, oh, yeah, they need to win one of their games, though, big time for the Italians, whether that's up against the French or whether that's up against New Zealand. They've got those 2 big matches right at the end. And so 2 4 passes for the French so far, huh? Says the mockery must survive. Yeah, that one, I'll be honest, I thought that they may have checked some of those passes, but it's one of those ones as well that I think they just wanted the game to keep on speeding along too. Not checking forward pass, apparently not for this game, but I would have had another look if I was TMO, and then everyone probably would have gotten mad at me for spending too much time checking. If I birth a child, she'll be named 7-1, and I am male, says bystander. I mean, you could name it 7, maybe. Do people call their kids 7 nowadays? I got sent a thingy from someone that I know, and they sent me an Australian woman named her kid Methamphetamine Rules. And I mean, I'm not saying that it's not a catchy name, but maybe not the name for your child. Maybe the name of a band rather than a kid, you know? Now, Venda Vista isn't thrown in. It's going to be one. Charles Olivon takes it nicely for France again. And it is at line out time that Namibia are struggling to keep that ball in their hands. Cameron Walkie around the side of the breakdown moves up. Just a couple more inches and the penalty does go the way of France. We have got there New Zealand, England versus South Africa in the final World Cup 2023. South Africa keep the Webb Ellis Trophy again as champions. Here's a Leon. And also, how long does the Ponce stay on for? Says Fleshin. I think that they'll probably give him around 55 minutes in this one. Or can imagine going through customs with a name like that. Says Peter, well, yeah, it's probably going to be. I was thinking, imagine trying to spell your name when you're like doing a test when you're like 6 and they're like, write your name up the top. Like, what kid, let alone adult, knows to spell methamphetamine? Like, you could almost guess it, but I don't think it's in everyone's dictionary. That's why they shorten it to meth. Fun fact. We have paternal twins named Man and Woman. When I was growing up, says Gus. Is so that they could tell them apart? And could Italy beat the All Blacks? That would be a major upset. Says, you was nice step from Pinot. He scores again now. Damien Pinot is second of the contest. Already got the double, and we are only 20 minutes into this game. And France has us in the bag, really nervous for the South Africa versus Ireland game this weekend. Going to be a cracker game, says Andrew. And also, no, not England versus South Africa in the final again, says Akaris. Yeah, see, that's the thing. I feel like England at the moment, I don't think they'd challenge whoever makes it to the final as much as one of the teams on this side of the draw. Whether or not that is Ireland, France, South Africa, New Zealand. I feel like whoever makes it through to the final, they'll want to play whoever's the highest ranked at that stage, just because then you feel like you've accomplished a lot more than taking on an English side that looked like they were going to sack their coach about 3 weeks ago. That makes sense. I wish Box can teach Man United how to win games, says Barry. Was that forward as well? Well, says Democracy. That one, to be fair, I wasn't really paying a huge amount of attention to that pass. I was just thinking, oh, yeah, Pinot's got another. But hopefully it went backwards. Malvaka again, says Gus. There's a balloon on the field. Someone go pop that. We've got Hamish. Come on, people. Hit that like button. Please, Kiwi Lads Rocks. Yeah, see, that one I think they'd allow. It was a nice flat little pop. Up. Damien Pinot. And good night, Michelle, says Ruth. And there as well. Did I miss Michelle's good night message? Did I? Whereabouts is Michelle? Oh, sorry, I have to go now. Sleep at 12:50 in India. So bye, says Michelle. So we will see you later on. Malvaka again, says Gus. Only inside of the 22 here, France. Back into the pocket, Thomas Ramos. There's a very handy kick from him. Territory-wise, does get a lot of meters. His don't plays enjoy the cricket, Michelle, says John. F, says Bonnie there. What link can I watch this game? Says Wando. It does depend on whereabouts you are in the world, but the best bet is to go on the Rugby World Cup website, and they will tell you exactly where your options are to be able to watch these games. Irish legend Keith Wood says 7-1 split. Unfair, how and why? Says George. I've heard quite a bit of talk about it. Oh, that's a bit of pace shown from Balbari Now with the fin flicks it back on the inside to Antoine Dupont, now just outside of the 22. Big, wide, flicking pass from Selobai. Numbers again here for Le Bleu. The pass is a bit wonky, but it now sits up for Damien Pinot. Passes across to Yui Antonio. Impressive. These big French forwards, the way that they move. Jalabert, he has knocked the ball on, and it is back now in the hands of Namibia, only 10 metres out from their own line. Being put under a huge amount of pressure. Pieter Malvaka just helping his teammate Jonathan Dante up from the breakdown. And they will be now going back for the original scrum. Okay, back for the knock-on because it was almost a penalty against the Namibians. And their good score coming up. Was that bonus point faster than the box? Here's My Bad Gaming. I think so. I think the box got theirs after 24 or 26 minutes from Kobus Reinach, if I'm not wrong. Del Barre with that flick pass around the back to Dupont, who literally just hit the arm with the ball on it. Forearm just chucks it across. So this versus England final. Says Stefan. So I guess question, Stefan, why do you want it to be England out of curiosity? I'm just curious because I've heard quite a few people saying England versus Springboks as the World Cup final. They were already able to beat them in the last World Cup final, so I guess there's nothing to prove in that regard up against a slightly, I guess, less consistent English team than they were back then. So what is it about the idea of facing England that makes it so intriguing rather than playing either New Zealand, France, or Ireland in that final? You let me know. And now, going to be a big scrum, and France get themselves the penalty. Front row going up for the Namibians. Huge amount of pressure on Sethi van der Westerhuizen and Kutsia in that scenario. Best looking commentator ever, says Ruth. I am not sure about that, Ruth. I feel like there's a lot of commentators around. I probably wouldn't even rank in the top like 80%. So who is the scary team out of the top four, says Gareth. I think at the moment the unpredictable side out of the top four is Fiji. Because if they can put together some big games, they have got the ability of winning up against some top sides. The tricky thing about it is they also have the potential of losing to a side outside of the top 10. The split is not unfair. It is within the rules. However, it certainly is not in the spirit of the game. Indeed, how the game was designed to be played. It's supposed to be a balance. There's a Cardis there. And also Tide says, Andrew, we are currently sitting 24 minutes through. We can't face New Zealand or France in the finals. It's either England, Wales, or Fiji, says Stefan. Although the way that the draw sets up, I believe that the winner of the other quarterfinal between Ireland or whoever it is on that side, they then play someone else in the semis and they can meet each other. Is that correct? I think that it is. I think it can be versus either France, Ireland, or whoever's on that other side of the draw in the final rather than in the semis. This is the France everyone likes. Says Greg Howe's live dude, says Mr. Skits. I'm on a random sleep schedule, that is for sure, but we're doing all right. Currently sleeping during the day, working during the night. And ouch, I don't like these blowouts, says Yvonne. Now Pieter Malvaka throwing the ball in off the Dupont off the back, and Dante's over. Another try for the French. That'll be their fifth try now in only 26 minutes. Come on, Namibia, your time will be in the future, says Patricia. And also, we'll get the I'm back, guys, says Master. Welcome in, mate. And also, coffee date at Brass Bell. There's Red Howe. And yes, and Dan Stulberg. You have good taste like me, and 31-0. Didn't see that one coming, says Jonesy. They're certainly scoring tries for fun at the moment. The French, we've seen 2 from Damien Pinot, 1 now for was Jonathan Dante. In fact, that's his second try now for Jonathan Dante. It's a race for a hat-trick between him and Pinot. So over 11 minutes, 13 seconds as the bonus point, says Christopher. Oh, was it their 5th try? That was the hat-trick of Reinach, wasn't it? That was 24th minute, 26th minute. I think he just narrowly missed out on the quickest hat-trick in a Rugby World Cup by a couple minutes. What was your score prediction, says Andrew? I said that France were going to win by 50 plus in this game. That one's gone over from Ramos. To be fair to Namibia, aren't they mostly part-timers, says Jonesy? Amateur rugby players, I would say, or semi-professional is the better way of putting it. They're part-timers, but yes, they have got quite a few players do not have big contracts overseas, utter nonsense, 8 replacement players for each team. Each team can optimize to their strengths. That's unfair. Maybe you want a cup handed out to all teams, says Burning Lash. It seems to be something that has fired up a lot of people, hasn't it? Like, to me, at the end of the day, like, the only way it's going to hurt the Springboks is if they lose 2 players in their backline for injury. And then maybe, I guess it's easier to have a replacement off the bench than it is a back replacement. There is a reason you have a couple more of them available because of more positions that they do need to cover. Then I guess, it's that question of, is it different than having like a spare prop off the bench rather than a spare loose forward, just in case you're feeling like you're going to have uncontested scrums at some point throughout a game? Because you could also argue the Springboks currently have 2 hookers off their bench with Dion Fourie and Marco van Staden. So it's a bit interesting. We have got their sub 70 deficit would be a win for Namibia. Everyone laughed at Japan even hosting the World Cup, says Gareth. And Namibia must be a better side by now. How many World Cups does it take? Look at Fiji, says Sean Lees. Although you got to look at the funding, you got to look at the player pool and everything along those lines. You look at Fiji, the fact that they're a part of Super Rugby Pacific now, alongside the New Zealanders. They are getting consistent matches up against top sides in the November internationals as well as the July internationals. Everything that I've just listed, Namibia don't have the privilege of being able to do. So there are clear differences in the journey for both of those 2 sides. Currently on the wing is going to be Mouton, just staying in the field of play. Reinhard Holt's quickest hat trick of the 2019 World Cup. Yep, it was up against the Canadians that he was able to get it. So he didn't quite break his own record in that matchup up against the Romanians. Now, going to the right-hand side here, will be Van der Vesterhuizen. What if it was Kenya playing France? Says Andre, I think the scoreline would look probably similar, if not worse, for the Kenyans. If you look at the qualification process in terms of how Namibia got to this World Cup, I believe they had to beat Kenya. If I'm not wrong, great commentary, says Frank. Thank you very much, mate. Anyone who is new to the channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. We have got plenty more commentaries coming around the corner. We are doing every game of this Rugby World Cup, so if you do want to help us out, it's greatly appreciated. Australia is only hosting 2027 World Cup to save their rugby union. Their rugby board is broke, says John. I mean, at the end of the day, if they're going to have rugby there, hopefully people show up and watch the games. It's not like the Melbourne Super Round, but at the end of the day, if they're willing to put down that money to be able to host it, I've got the facility, so that is a massive bonus. How many of the Namibia players play professionally? That is a stat that I do not have, unfortunately, but I would say that there's probably not a huge amount throughout this side. You look through at that back line, normally they would have who's normally the number 10 for them? Is it Swanepoel? He's normally number 10, but he's not actually playing in this competition, not on the starting lineup anyway. I hope they make next World Cup without selection. Yes, says Gareth. Well, the easiest way to do that is just not break rules. That's the easy way of doing it. Now, big run from the Namibian number 7, getting close to the try line now. Can the Namibians cross the line for the first time today? Jonathan Dante over the ball. That will be the penalty to France. He is lethal when it comes to getting those turnovers. Everyone struggles to shift, and the Pom was not on the mark. They will have to go back. Rugby World Cup should be 10, powerful team like cricket, says Master. I disagree. I feel like as soon as you limit a competition to less than 20 teams, you're pretty much asking for failure, because that's 10 different nations that could have qualified, the fan bases, the support when it comes to buying tickets at the ground. You've lost all of that when you do limit the amount of teams that make their way to the World Cup. And I guess it's also that question of, can it be considered a World Cup if it's only 10 teams in it, because it's very, very small in terms of the amount. Isn't Cricket World Cup like 12 or 14 teams though, rather than the 10? And we have got their cricket players should put their back down, cover rugby ball and play rugby instead. And Quarren can cover the back, so technically it could be called a 6-2 split, says Fleshen. Yeah. I feel like there's still cover for the Springboks in different positions. That's a terrible idea. Part of the World Cup's charm is seeing a couple of new nations take part most years, says Jonesy. Yeah, rugby's already in a financial stint at the moment that if they make wrong decisions over the next 10 years, it's not looking too flash for them, I will say that. So The last thing they want to do is limit their income by kicking teams out. Cricket World Cup is 10 teams now. 2027, it will go back to 14 teams. Says John there. Yeah, even in terms of the Cricket World Cup, that's two nations that could have been, all four nations that could have been in that World Cup that they've now said, nah, we don't want your revenue, we don't want your financials. Rugby in the US, never. Says Penny Lane. We are watching from Barcelona. WRC. I should have put Spanish versus Spanish game here. Says it was Gareth, and I love seeing Namibia / South African players playing abroad. Shows the range. Here's bystander. Now, Chalabert. The ball into touch. 30 minutes down, still scoring at more than a point a minute. Now, throughout this Rugby World Cup, the most points that have been scored by an individual side was Ireland. That was in their game up against the Romanians. Now, the backline movement here. Ramos gets it out to Damien Pinot again. Will go for the grubber. Well covered, Namibia just running that ball into touch. Didn't want to take that risk of going to the ground. It's going to be a mess in Namibia. Just practicing there. There's Ruth. A line-out throw for the French. Pieter Malvaka. I have to say, though, the French line-out not really put a foot wrong, and that is where they're really finding their advantage. Cricket is a crook game since Hansi Kronya. Then the Indians took it further. Now it's totally corrupt. Says Stull, and also high all. Says Robert there, nicely taken by Cameron Walkie. Bailly offloads it back up to Pieter Malvaka. Decided he wanted to go through himself. It will be a forward pass. Puja Long falls over the line. I think they're going to check this to see whether or not it was forward or whether it was slapped out of the hand by a Namibian player. I just want to check to see how the ball got from point A to point B. In this case, it is Malvaka's hands to Jalange. I mean, it was the last time you saw a player use rugby goggles. Says Gareth, I would say 2023 actually. It would have been William Bucker, I think, if I'm not wrong, the Kenyan Sevens player. He's the right. Yeah, I think it was William Bucker who had the goggles on in 2023. It's going to be the knock on from France, which does now mean that it's a scrum feed for the Namibians besides Italian player. Says Gareth, so yeah, the Kenyan in the Sevens circuit. We've got there next year. T20 World Cup in USA has 20 teams. Says Master. So yeah, they've extended it by a little bit more. Malvaka just maybe took a bit too long to get that pass away to Jalange. Already had the two defenders locked and loaded towards him. At that, subscribe and like all. Says Andre. The squad is being portrayed as 7 freshmen against 8 titles. Both teams have 8 men bench. 5-3 split, still has 5 forwards. Let's ban anyone 80 plus kg. Says Burning Lash. But yeah, it seems to be the big argument that I've seen for the 7-1 is they're talking about the freshness of 7 forwards off the bench. But yeah, if it's in the law book, I don't think they can really, yes, it's unfortunate for the side facing them, but at the end of the day, if it's in the law book, if you can use that to your advantage, they're going to. That's a nice offload up to Flamand. My voice is almost already going. The 7-1 split does Maury Island. They went with a 5-3 split. Very interesting, says George. Yeah, so they're going to be looking to use it in their backs, try and keep that momentum flowing in the later stages of the game. And, it's that question mark for the South Africans. If their backline isn't firing, they have very limited options to be able to fix it up against the Irish. So it's that double-edged sword. Yes, they're going to have more physicality later on in their fullback, but if the backline isn't consistently working, if Deolende and Creel is a muddled mess in the midfield, or maybe at fullback for Lims and Lebok, that combination doesn't end up working, then that is when South Africa are going to have to do some heavy thinking about what they do through the later stages of the game. We have got there. Quagga will play 12, no problem, ladies and gents. Hashtag 7 says bystander, although it's been a little while since we've seen Quagga Smith in there. But, perfect example of it not quite working was Estes and Moody last week up against the Romanians. They have decided to switch both of them there. You need to scrum in order to lift the Alice Trophy, says Rudy now. At this rate, France will surpass the All Blacks 71. It's also morally wrong for Fiji to play a back line that's bigger than most teams' forwards. Says Burning Lash. Although they have been written down as forwards, I guess is the or as backs is the slight difference there, if that's the argument, maybe. But that's looking at it from a neutral perspective, as they've been listed as backs. So, like Jonathan Dundee, he's a big bloke at number 12. One moment. Namibia have got themselves the penalty now, ladies and gentlemen. Rugby media tipping South Africa, and all talk about the bomb squad, etc. All talk is on South Africa's selection. Andy Farrell, Andy Farrell. I don't mind being underdogs. Here's Porter. I was knocked on by France, and then he played the ball on the ground. That is why he did get penalised there. I've got their RQ lads are explosive, says Ruth. And also going to be a 100-point. Thanks, brother, for your hard work live every game of the World Cup, says Petey. No worries at all. And we will be live all throughout the weekend with the exciting games that are also just around the corner. France have been able to get a line out once more. I don't think Namibia have won any of their own lineouts at this stage. Maybe one if they're lucky. That's somewhere that has been heard in the big time. So this is a question of contention, I think that is. Qualifiers versus qualified qualifiers. Did a better team miss out due to geographically quotas? Or continent, says Gareth. I mean, maybe, but to be a World Cup, you've got to have sides from all different continents, don't you? Or else then it's just a cup. They have 300 million people, of course they could, but as part of their culture, says Mikhail. Why aren't they just honest and say we don't like it because we can't do it? There's Paul Roy. I think it's more just no other side wants to put that much faith in their backline as well. Like they don't want to try and say to those guys, right, you're expected to play 80 minutes and there's no cover for you if something goes wrong. But the Springboks, they back their players. They are confident that the players won't get injured, which I hope is going to be the case because at the end of the day, they've already lost Malcolm Marks. They don't want to lose any more players. Listen, it's a statement to make about the bot players. They are super fit. There's Burning Lash. Now going back across at the midfield. Burger. That was a cheap shot on him by Pieter Malvaku. Dove onto him with the shoulder. Now back across to the left-hand side for the Namibians. Grayling runs out of space. Flicked back by France. And they've ended up with a position once more. Jalibert just a little bit out. He looked for the inside ball. Fiku wasn't actually there, but he has been able to receive the pass anyway. Great step from Fiku. Moves to 45 metres out from France's line. Still 3 minutes remaining in this first half. Dupont look for the wide cutout pass and will just be the knock on from the Namibian. Dan Pinot has sniped through again. Goes back to Antoine Dupont and he'll get himself another try. I believe that is now the 7th or the 8th try in this match for the French. I believe that is try number 7. We have got there like the Rugby League World Cup where you 3 real international teams and the rest are teams of Kiwis, Aussies, English representing other countries. There's John. And also we have got there, come on mate, tell us just one other squad who has the depth to do a proper bomb/newt squad. I've got time, I'll wait. Says Paul Roy. I mean, when you look at some of the forwards, though, if anyone wanted to be able to do it, you'd have to argue that Ireland have got a very good option because you look at the side and you look at the players that they haven't gone with in this lineup. Joe McCarthy, he was absolutely phenomenal in that first game for the Irish, so I would have thought maybe he could have been an option if they wanted another lock. And there, Ryan Beard, he does actually offer that 6 as well as playing a little bit of lock alongside it. You look at some of those loose forwards that the Irish aren't using, some of which due to injury, but also some of which, like the fact that the likes of a Cam Prendergast didn't even get selected for the Irish because of the players that they had available. Like, they got a pretty good side overall. Now that kick has gone over. We have got there, did you see Eddie Jones in the Rugby World Cup 2027, coach or manager? Says Gareth, he'll be somewhere, I believe. About. And also 100%. There's Marco there. And they are not super fit. They are lumbering over muscle players who would beat or never last 80 minutes, the last 15 carnage against the lumbering South African Sezakaris. And Ireland have an amazing depth. I don't think relying on your bench is going to work. Says Jonesy and bloody Alpino didn't pass or don't pass in my fantasy team, says Fleshin. It's going to be kicked off high. 20 seconds remaining in this first half. When you look at the age of the South African players, South Africa versus Ireland players, the Boks have to play a whole bench because they don't have the fitness. The Irish bench are also a lot more talented and young, says he. And also, what time is it? Just got here. It is currently sitting 7:45 a.m., but in the game, it is sitting at 40 minutes with Thomas Ramos now steaming up the middle of the park. Going up to the right-hand side, Charles Olivon, close to scoring earlier on. In fact, he did score, didn't he? The ball pass was not disallowed. Now, quick tap taken by Antoine Dupont. It's Galfiku with him, but instead goes straight through him. Goes across to the left. Balpari gets the cross kick. Phenomenal work from the French. And that'll bring up the 50 points in the first half of this contest. More likely going to be South Africa versus Ireland final, says Mark. And also, we there, no, mate. The bomb nuke squad needs to have as good or better on your bench, and no one else has that, says Paul. I mean, like, it just depends on what you consider for the players. Like, don't get me wrong, South Africa have got a phenomenal bench for the game, but like, it's. I feel like there's a lot of none in mine. I was going to say there seems to be a lot of my cock's bigger than your cock in the world of rugby at the moment, but at the end of the day, until we see it stylistically up against certain teams, there's still a lot to be learnt for both of those sides moving forward. And I feel like South Africa, they'll go into this game up against the Irish, of course, confident. They'll want to learn more about what they can do, improving throughout the games. Well, Hamish is 16 hours ahead of me, says John. And also, we have got there most likely going to be a South Africa versus Ireland final. Mark, and also we have got there, Fuff doesn't need to kick. He has the best hair on the planet, says Ruth. And I hope Namibia scores anyway, says KP. First side to bring up 50 points and a half in this Rugby World Cup. It will be France now looking at this one towards. Yep, they snuck over for Ramos and now making the score 54 points to nil at half time. Dang it, Mr. Burstar, says RJJ. And they are not great at penalties, says Porter. Look at the fact, stop dreaming. No player fitter than any spring row. You have no idea, says Stell. And Box will be exposed with the 7-1 split and also the decision not to replace the hooker, says him. It's going to be a long day in the office for Ireland on Saturday, says Paul Roy. And also we have got there, Box will be, I read that one. Irish has responded by wanting bigger players on the bench rather than more mobile backs, says Burning Lash. And South Africa's skill teams play better than Namibia, says Democracy. And they also probably have more funding than the Namibian side. So is that as well. We got, whatever happened to Ireland will be probably tested. Says it was there from Georgian past results don't matter, Gareth. Not sure. Are we getting defensive, says Jonesy, and the live stream for South Africa versus Ireland. Going to be spicy, amigo, says Pleasure. Yeah, I feel like the thing is, I mentioned about it before this live stream as well. There's going to be more talk about that game on this live stream than the actual match taking place, which has been the case so far. So those games that are taking place on the same day, Portugal versus Georgia, as well as England versus Chile, I think it's going to be even that much more as well. We have to obviously didn't watch the Under-20 Rugby World Cup because South Africa sucked. And France is going to get close to New Zealand record winning margin, says Burning Lash. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the second half here because we know that France still have a very strong bench that they will be able to use. We'll go like this and like this. There we go. So it is Bugaret, Wardy, and Aliegri off the bench at number 18. Tafa Fanua at 19 and Burian at 20. Kuyu, Mofana, as well as Jamine, the last man. Come off the bench for the Namibians. They've got Nokia at number 16. Richard Hardwick. I hope that he adds a little bit of something near the end. Dylan Rizzo also there at number 23 to try and get that first try for the Namibians. This match, I'm studying my biology exam tomorrow and also watching the rugby. What a good match for my team, says Jody. So we have got there as well. You're simply not listening to me. Have no appreciation of the game, its purpose, to include all types and capabilities of the players, even immature, says Caris. Also, we have got there, France are going to be the first 100 points in the tournament here, says him. I had a relook at the quarters through the finals. You're right. We will have to take out New Zealand in the quarters, then Wales in the semi. But we'll see France and France. Oh, sorry, South Africa and France in the finals. But yeah, I feel like, question, Stephen, or Stefan, sorry. Who have you got playing Wales in that quarterfinal? In that case, are you going with Wales versus England or Wales versus Argentina, maybe Japan, Samoa? Who do you think they'll be matching up with? And who do you think the Springboks will be matching up with in the semis as well? I guess is a big question to ask. Do you think Namibia will score once? At the moment, it's looking relatively tricky for them, but I hope so. I hope we get to see one try. And the game will be, but I'm sure the chat won't be so toxic, says Fleshin. And also, can we call France's bench the baguette squad? Not really. It's not really a straight comparison with a bomb and a baguette. So, like, you'd have to. I was going to say you'd have to find something that was like made in France, but then like bombs didn't get originated in South Africa, did they? That I know of. I could be wrong there. I'd like to see another tier two team, or see what another tier two team could do against Namibia. But a guy will go Namibia hiding. Well, John, luckily for you, I have got the statistics or some of the information from past games. And as you can see here, Uruguay beating Namibia only 26 points to 18, having a very close game. Also, Chile, the Namibians were able to beat them. So I wouldn't call 8 points a hiding. In fact, that game did go relatively close to the wire, but we do get to see them play each other in the near future as well. As you can see, no hiding there between those two sides when they went head to head. What would Hamish do? The Manscaped company offered to sponsor them. We've already been sponsored by Manscaped in the past, Gareth. So we have done an ad read for them before. We have just got knocked off work. Do you think Namibia can even hang with Paul Ruiz or Greg College, says Mo? I mean, it's a very tricky comparison to make, isn't it? But like at the moment, Namibia have been struggling in this first half because of the tempo that the French have been playing, and also the lineouts have not been strong for Namibia. At the moment, for the lineout stats, Namibia have had 6 lineouts. They have lost 3 of them. I swear it was more than that in the first half, though. France have actually lost 2 of their own lineouts. Wales versus Samoa, semi-finals, and then, the quarterfinal, and then Wales versus South Africa in the semi. Says Stefan, I love Namibia cricket team. They are great, says Master. So I think Wales should win based on current performances. You never know, depends if Australia decide to turn up or not, says Jonesy. If the 7-1 split works for the Box this weekend, expect them to use it against all their top opponents, says Mark. And Porta talk is always cheap and unsure, says Stahl there. I mentioned about it. This game between Ireland and South Africa, it's going to bring out the worst in the supporters of both sides. I've already seen it. To be honest, as you guys know, I always like to be impartial. I always like to look at rugby in a positive light. The build up to that game has not been positive in terms of a percentage of both sides' support. I'm hoping that after the game, there is going to be some sort of mutual respect. Like at the end of the day, Ireland will look at South Africa as a side that are the defending champions at the moment for the Rugby World Cup and a team that they can't estimate. For the Springboks, I'd like to think that they'll be giving Ireland some respect going into this game, seeing as they're on about a 14-match winning streak, including one win over South Africa in the November international. So, like, there should be respect there. It's just we haven't really seen a lot of it in the build-up of the match, unfortunately, which I feel like is a bit of a shame, really. But at the end of the day, you can't control people, what they say, so you just have to take the good with the bad. Yeah, I know for one, I'm very much looking forward to seeing that game and hoping it's going to be competitive. Yeah, bookies. 2 have the Box as the favourites, being Irish. I don't care if I'm $100 or not. Says Porta, go Namibia. You get just the one. Says Berenice and wins halftime on Thursday. It is currently halftime in this contest. I've decided to accept defeat and respect Ireland's victory. Says cool story, bro. Had no chance because they should both go through and they could meet again. Says Flesh in there. South Africa win the World Cup easy, says Master. And 7-1 split is always the plan for the Irish or the Ireland game. Twickenham was not planned, but injury to allow dry run, says Burning Lash. Is it half time? Well, it is half time. It certainly is. And also towards Hamish managing the Irish. We're going to need some very skilled operators in that chat to make sure that everything is going smoothly. I'd say, Franz, well, thank you very much for that donation, mate. Usually appreciated. What a joke. Well, rugby should be embarrassed. Or what's the purpose? Have weak teams playing against top teams. There are millions that never develop the weak teams to get better, says Running Stories. And Ireland, South Africa is just a game. Please take it. It's just that whoever wins is the best team, says Dahlberger. The best team on the day, I think, is something we should clarify in there. Irishman here. Huge respect for South Africa. Going to be a great game. No matter who wins, very excited. Hopefully we pull through. Says Jason. Whoever wins between Ireland and South Africa, at the end of the day, we shake hands at beers after. It's rugby fans for you, says John. I'm impressed with that from yourself, John, seeing as you've been one of the main instigators of the trash talk and the build-ups. There's no underdog between South Africa and Ireland, unlike Wales and Australia, where they are both underdogs. And also, 7-1 is a real risk. Couple of injuries to the backs and they could struggle. Still fancy Ireland, says Saturday Player. Do you need an Afrikaans-speaking underline mod, says Gus? We have got, at this stage, I believe, 1 or 2 Afrikaans-speaking mods that I know of anyway. But we may have to look at 1 or 2 more depending on what happens in that live stream. So yeah, we'll probably look at you guys who are the regulars in the chat to help us out there. Can you lip read? Says Ruth. Whose lips am I reading? Can you read my lips? Wait up. I'll put myself on mute. Said vacuum. It looks close to something else, doesn't it? Of course, the trash talk gets us hyped up. Says John. Should I bet France 90 points, guys? Says Diogo. At the moment, they're looking very strong. Should have a decent chance of going somewhere near it, but it's whether or not they can actually get that mark. This one, the runs. At the moment, we've seen a few more runs from the French. They are sitting with 438 metres carried compared to the 203 in this match. Look at there, you're lagging, says Blues Nate. And also, as a French, I hope we play against the Irish. South Africa going to be difficult. Saturday, this comment section is going to be a battlefield, says Anelli. It is. I hope everyone keeps it, though, relatively, like respective of the match that's taken place, rather than just throwing around random insults at people for the sake of it. If that makes sense. Like, I don't mind when people are confident in their team and they, they feel like they've got a little bit of an advantage in some departments, but it's when it gets to like that off-field, just abusing the other fan base that I think we need to stop that. I understand this. I think that says South Africa's going to win. Says Stahl, maybe. I might need a Gaelic speaking mod, says Flesh in there. Do we have any Gaelic speaking regular viewers, ladies and gentlemen? Out of curiosity, all my Irish co-workers have gone into hiding. I've been phoning in sick. Phones have been turned off now. Democracy must survive. Either way, I see a score with more than 10 points, whether it's Ireland or South Africa. And also, we've got there that super sticker donation from Blues Nate as well. Thank you very much, mate. It comes up as super sticker, but it is a man with a coffee mug, or a peer, I think that actually is, with a coffee mug, slinging it forward. We have got there, you mean don't be a Johnny Sexton at the Champions Cup, says Gareth. Yeah, I guess so. Or no, I couldn't. I was going to say, or no, never mind. I was going to say something about Rassi Erasmus, but I feel like he's learned his lesson at this stage, hasn't he? And France should play cricket professionally like the UK, says a master. And also the bottom bench is not on the same level as the starting pack. And the losses of Marks and Vermeulen are huge, says Sean Lees. I would say the Aussies are in hiding. They haven't been around much in the chat lately, says John. I think it's just the fact that we don't really have that many Australian viewers overall. So, yeah, I wouldn't say they're in hiding. It's just there's a lack of them. Because, like, Wales have been winning and we don't really have a lot of Welsh viewers either. So, I think Flesh is the main Welshman from the channel. I like the South African fans. We are a good match, says Hone. I read one bot journalist use the word leprechauns. Now, that's not nice, Says Porter. I'll cash app you if Bok lose. Says Bystander. International Rugby Pass funds to all emerging teams countries. Missed who made the uneducated comment earlier. Says Peter Wild. And please respect the other teams and don't tarnish the good name of baseball. Yep. I'm Australian. Plus, it's free to view here. Yeah, so that is also true. So we won't see too many Australians popping in and out on these live streams. I'll quickly let you guys know what my score prediction was for this game, but I don't think I went with a high enough one in favour of the French. What is the time? Says Berenice. At the moment, it is halftime in this game, but also it's 8 a.m. here in New Zealand. Please do not think I have anything against America. I loved it when they won the Cup for the first time. However, playing the game with the 2-1 bias to the forwards is not a balance. And also, we have there, just got to love this, the Irish and Banters, says Blues Nate. Yeah, as well, but we are just about underway for the second half of this contest. France with 54 points, the most that any side has been able to score throughout a first half. One of the most clinical performances throughout this Rugby World Cup so far also. And now they'll be looking to continue that momentum. What did I say for this game? I went with France winning 56 points to 6. Namibia is going to need a big second half here, if that is going to be the case. No, Namibia are the lowest ranked team in the World Cup, right? Says, I think Chile are a bit lower than them, if I'm not wrong. Maybe. What rank? So Namibia are ranked 21st. I'll quickly find out where Chile are ranked. I think they're around that same mark, aren't they? Chile are ranked 22nd. Okay, so only just. And let's talk again on Sunday. I will congratulate you with the pleasure. If Ireland wins, and besides South Africa versus Irish, what the other game of the round? I honestly think it will be either Scotland and Tonga or Australia versus Wales. In fact, I'll probably say Australia versus Wales is the next big one that has taken place because both of those sides definitely want to walk away with that victory and they do really need it to help confirm a spot in the final. First 100 point of this World Cup loading, says Justin. Went with 59 way off, says Raymond. I think I don't know whether we underestimated the French in this game or we just didn't take into consideration that maybe by now Namibia would be starting to tire in this comp. They have had back-to-back games. I think it's been wearing on them a little bit, but France now going to be kicking it off high. A little bit of a miscommunication at the back for the Namibians. Ball has gone backwards and now rolling it back. It will be dead on. And also, don't mistake, man, banter for a lack of respect for Irish. Says a burning lash. Although I think in some cases that I've seen, there has been like people don't understand the difference between, I guess, the banter and just literally just going in on a side for no reason. We have got there. We need France. Would pick first team. And also with Stolberger. Oh, that is actually true. The fact that we thought that might be a slightly mixed French side, but I think their game against Uruguay made them realise that they need to be playing the top sides. That's a knock on from Pieter Malvaka. Should be a scrum for the Namibians. Referee, yep, now he's realised. Back for it. A quick question. Are there big school derby exchanges in terms of sport in New Zealand? As in an entire school versus another school in their respective sports, says Anelli. I mean, we have a few like relatively big schoolboy rugby matches that do take place. You have exchanges when you're at school, when you go to one region and you go to another. But like nothing huge that I know of around these parts where I am. But that's mainly because we're a small town and we didn't really have enough players to play in many sports. 54-0, just went away for a few minutes. And what, says Andrew? It's sad that we can just score one. But I'm keeping hope, says Berenice. Ball being fed in on the halfway line for the Namibians. Will France get a century here? I feel like throughout the later stages, we are going to see a little bit more. We will go like that. I'm going to adjust the microphone. Right, that should be a bit better microphone-wise. I've switched it up a little bit. For some reason, my audio, every once in a while on the streaming software, it decides to try and make me very quiet. Based off history, France are next most deserving Rugby World Cup winner, considering 2011 loss was by 1 point in New Zealand, and 145-17, says John. I don't think we're quite getting to there, mainly because I don't see Namibia scoring 17 points, but also I don't see the French getting up to that 140 balls. Says Captain Undies and Hamish, Don Clark boot first 15. Loki want France to get 100. And under 80, go Namibia. And Georgia, drink lots of porter if we win. Best of health to you, win or lose. Porter. Okay, it's going to be another scrum feed for the Namibians here, only 25 metres out from the line. I would like to see them score the first try of the second half. I feel like that would give them the confidence moving forward in this competition. They've got their big game up against Uruguay, which is just around the corner. I believe that will be their last game of this Rugby World Cup pool stages. France have got their last match up against Italy. That will be in 2 weeks' time. Talking about New Zealand versus Japan in 1995, you certainly were. Talking about the biggest margin that we have had in a game. So I compared it to this game that is taking place at the moment. Now, sitting about 22 metres out here, Namibia. So that's a really rough pass to Seti. And now Ramos will boot it down the middle of the field. Once more, France. 2 men chasing after it. One being Jalibert. Now the pass out wide. Here comes Krayling. He's close to the touchline. Does go into touch. And now France get the ball back. Namibia is a great cricket country. David Visa is a star. And also, we get there. You can drink water if your audio goes. Says Stahl. But yeah, hopefully it does sound a lot better now than it did in that last one. But yeah, there's just a little button that every once in a while switches itself on. That's to do with echo cancellation. And when it is trying to cancel the echo, it does sound very rough. The Namibia side will struggle against Uruguay. Says Bleshin. Now Redawadi goes across to Dupont. Fiku. Little looping around past there. Off to the left. Interception for the Namibians. That will be their first try of the match. Dylan Rizzo does score it. And Namibia get themselves the first points on the second half of this game. And also, come on, Namibia, 2 tries, says Sean Lees. And yes, says Richard in there. So getting themselves their first. Oh, or do they? They're going to check this to see if it's offside. Now, I will mention they didn't check to see if France had 2 forward passes in one of their tries. Although they are now checking potential head contact instead by the sounds of it. So if there's head contact on Dupont, it means that this will be no try. And with the way that Dupont has stayed down, I would assume that he got hit relatively well. Yeah. Yep, head on head. That's going to be a disallowed try. Probably a yellow card. Maybe even upgraded to the red with the flying headbutt from Johan Dezel. So meets the threshold for a yellow card. It's against Dezel, the captain, and that try will be disallowed for the Namibians. Not good, says Richard. And yes, Namibia, says Sam. Captain called over. Yellow card for Johan Dezel. So now they will have around 8 minutes to make the decision of whether or not it will be upgraded to a red. And the Lions taking a beating in this game, says Gus. Although that last shot showed that he certainly got a chin on him, Antoine Dupont. And able to take that shot with ease. Although now looks like he's feeling it a bit more. Going to be going off for an HIA. Looks like he's feeling it as well here, Dupont. That would be a massive player to lose in the game. Do we have up against the Italians? And damn it, says Mark. Racing took one for the team during the Lions tour. Had to get Sia Khaleesi respected by refs. It worked. Says Burning Lash. Now kicking for the touchline here for France. We have good there. Oh my, if this is a red, long day, says cool story, bro. Yeah, it's going to be tricky for the Namibians to be able to play this game, let alone having one man disadvantage. Guess on the South Africa versus Ireland scoreline, I did go with 17 points to 15 in that game. But yeah, could could go either way. And I hope Dupont is okay. I would be a shame to lose him for France, says M. Now the rolling maul, Pieto Malvaka. Sitting at the back. Another penalty advantage to the French. If there's too many more penalties as well, that could end up in the scenario of 13 men on the field for the Namibians. We've got there, this is good for the 9 off the bench. He gets a full up basically. So yeah, that is Baptiste Kuyu. Now gets a bit more of a chance here. Does anyone know is Rassi coming back to Ireland after the World Cup? Says Porter. That sounds like it is the plan. He's going to be a strength and conditioning coach, is what I've heard anyway, but that could be completely wrong. Porter sounds delicious, wants some. Says Darwin's average of 23-19 for the Irish. Says George. Now France, only a few metres out from the try line. Chance to get this rolling maul going. Well set. Ball off the back for Pieto. Malvaka breaking short side. Baptiste Kuyu. He's only been on the field for about 30 seconds and he scores the try straight away. Come on, Namibia, you can do it, says Berenice. Well, that was that. The try wasn't. That wasn't, says Ruth. So yeah, because of the high shot from the captain Dazelle, it does mean that they do miss out on that chance of scoring. And the thing is, if that is a red card, that means that they won't have their captain for the rest of this World Cup, including that game up against Uruguay, which may be a big deciding factor for them. We have got there Springboks 32-6. Ireland, if you want to play this game, says Stan. I don't think anyone was challenging you for it, Stan. I think everyone was saying it was going to be close. And then now you've just gone extremely one-sided. I know player welfare is a priority, but do you feel the game is slowly losing its identity with all these rule changes coming in? There have been a lot of inconsistencies in the way that the game's been reffed over the last little while. And I feel like that is a concern because a lot of people want to see consistency across the board, but we haven't really had that in rugby for a couple of years at least. I think it's actually probably got worse over the last couple of years. Now Ramos to line up this kick. 48 minutes into the game. His kicking accuracy has been relatively high so far for Ramos. I believe just missing the one. That one sneaks in the post. And now making the score 61 points to 0 in favour of the French. And it looks like the captain's being called over. This is either going to be that it's being upgraded to a red or it's only going to remain a yellow. But more than likely it will be a red card for Dazelle. Okay, that's penalties against. What's the score, says Peter Wild? There's no mitigation. It becomes a red card for the captain, Johan Dazelle. He will not be playing in the next match of the Rugby World Cup in the game that his side needed him the most up against the Uruguay team. Consistency is good and bad. Different Northern Hemispheres and Southern Hemispheres still make the game more interesting. Says Gareth and got to be a red. Yeah, flying headbutt. Well, not really flying headbutt, but head on head is always going to be close to that red card threshold. French flexing their muscles and showing everyone they're better than the All Blacks, says Victor. And also we're going to take Champs Cup Finals 2022-2023. And red card, says Sam Wilson in there as well. But now line out throw for Van der Vesterhuizen. Nicely taken by Namibia. I mentioned that in the first half. That is somewhere that they struggle with their lineouts. Big shot from Jonathan Dante. In fact, it's Romain Taufifanoa instead. Now quick hands, interception this time. Baptiste Kuyu. He's going to have 2 tries in 5 minutes of being on the field. Dupont's still doing the test to remember what day it is. And Kuyu has scored twice since he's made his way onto the field. Okay, relax, gents. The game starts in 2 days, says Blues Nate. And the Box vs Island match could possibly be the most exciting one yet. It will be close, says Sean Les. And also a better one will do in the chat. And also, do you think Namibia can score 1 without getting a penalty? Says Berenice. It's been tricky for them, the discipline in this half. Dupont may have a fractured cheekbone, says Gus. True. And depending on how bad that is in terms of healing, could be out for a couple games. We have got there, yes, they will score. And also, he didn't look good. Whole face swollen, says M. I don't want to sound like I'm being harsh, but Dupont has got a very solid face as it is. So there is a chance, but it could also be just because of how large and kind of structured his faces, although he was holding his nose like that, which makes me think maybe it could have been something more around in this region of his face could have been the injury. They should just stop this game. Why humiliate Namibia further? Why even let these minnows play? They should be in a category all by themselves. These cricket scores, how's no one says CK, although I did mention earlier on about how, like, as soon as you start taking away these lower ranked sides, you start taking away money from the world of rugby. It's going to be no try, ladies and gentlemen, and a penalty. So it's a late shot from Reda Wardy. And Namibia really pathetic. They have never progressed, says John, although once again, you look at the funding, you look at the player pool that they've got available, and to be honest, it's not going to progress until they start having more funds to be able to start up some academies, get some more games played for these local boys. But, yeah. Take off the ball, penalty against Reda Wardy. I think each qualifying country should have one refereeing representative. Says Gareth, that is an idea for the future, perhaps. And also, we have got the 100, and the French are making double Whopper cheeseburgers with French fries. Looks like Sethi now making his way off the field. For Namibia, and Bernarde is out on the park now. So Namibia, they have conceded 2 tries, or in fact, no, sorry, just the 1 try now in the second half. They did almost score themselves 1. Kuyu almost had 2. And now Namibia with Van der Vesterhuizen thrown in nicely. And the rolling ball from France is completely wheeled around, which gives Namibia a good chance of making those few extra meter. Van der Vesterhuizen breaking off the back now. 5 meters, in fact now 2 meters from the line. Namibia getting close. Extremely close that time. I believe it would have been their 3. Johannes Kutsia. Fence from France. This is the hardest that they've had to work so far throughout this game. Ball is flicked back for the Namibians. Looking to use this one out their back line. Salah the dummy from the earlier almost try scorer. Number 23, Rizzo. 15 metres now from the line. Van Lille. Attacking run from him as well. Back into the pocket. Little bit of a risky pass. Didn't quite find their hands the way that they would have liked, but this is good phase play from Namibia. Up to 9 phases in a row now. Kachieko. Now steps again. Still an advantage for the knock-on. Slinging pass out wide, and they will be going... Oh, no. Matthew Carley must have set advantage over for the knock-on. Playing the ball on the ground for Thomas Ramos. Penalty goes against the French again. Come on, Namibia. Let's see something, says him. Oh, knock on white first. No advantage, they've said. So it is actually going to be a scrum penalty, or sorry, a scrum feed for the French. Our crowd will start to support Namibia soon, says Gareth. And SARU, I should have a South African B or C team play Namibia every year. Try help them, but says Justin, I feel like that's a good idea to have. That's the thing, more games for Namibia aren't going to hurt them in terms of outside of Rugby World Cups. We get to see them play probably the most this year because of their warm-up games for the Rugby World Cup. But other than that, they don't really get a chance up against the top sides. And like you mentioned, even sending over a team that are considered South Africa B, South Africa XV, anything like that, just to give them a bit of a chance up against some big sides. Because we saw Argentina XV actually take them on, and it was a relatively close game. And it would have given them a bit of confidence moving forward in their future games. And also, Fact Sandwich says Mikhail, and High Horse says Stormy. Welcome in. Now, Kuya feeds the ball in. 145 nil pending, says Burning Lash. I don't think there's enough time left. Currently 53 minutes through this game. The French have only scored the 1 try in the second half. Now, that's not saying that they can't score 1 now with Belbari, although he does kick it into touch. Came off a Namibian player, and it will now be a French line out once more. I need to Pinot to get another try so that I can get 200 points for my fantasy team. Says Anil. And also, France versus Island Quarters do happen. What do you think will happen in that matchup, says Stefan? I think we're going to see 2 sides in some pretty decent form heading into that contest, and stylistically, they'll be relatively similar. I think that the back line for Ireland will definitely be the crisper, the 4-pack. for France will be where they want to have that little bit of an advantage. But yeah, I could see it being a fixture that goes down to the wire in that case. We've got beautiful commentary, Kiwi lads, thanks, and Namibia for Romania. I mean, it's an idea, both of those sides playing each other, just to see how they do rank and how they match up. Jonathan Dante, big attacking run from him. Now Kuyu going off to the right-hand side. Bourret sells the dummy, look for the offload away. Sets up beautifully into the hands of Jaminet. Sells the dummy, doesn't find the pass to Damien Pinot, which would have been a certain try. Now Pinot, he is going to be scoring it. It's the hat trick. Pinot saying you were offside. And he scores the try anyway, so I don't know why he's complaining. He's saying offside. He should be saying hat trick instead. So they are just talking about whether or not it was a knock-on from France in that build-up play. I'd like to think that they will check it just to be sure that it didn't travel forward there out of the hands of Bourget. I'd say that that has gone backwards onto the boot. Then it's kicked forward by the French teammate. If Mofana has been allowed to play for France, says Gareth, and also Namibia waiting for the final whistle. And Pinot does manage to get the try. He has got himself a hat-trick now, ladies and gentlemen, and he actually joins the leading try scorer of this competition, Bundy Aki, sitting on the 4 points. So very similar to what we see on Saturday, South Africa versus Ireland, says Stefan. I believe so. I feel like there are some good matchups that are just around the corner for this Rugby World Cup. And I feel like the best thing for rugby as a whole is that those games up against the top-ranked sides are very close. Because if they're runaway games, I feel like it kind of kills the momentum for certain teams. And I feel like everyone wants to still feel like they are going to have a decent shot of winning the World Cup, even if they have a couple close games along the way. We've got there, some people just don't get it. These so-called minnow teams know that they cannot be competitive against tier 1 teams, but for them it's pride to be able to say that they play great games or great teams in a World Cup. Exactly right. Like, I never understand when people are like, oh, I want to kick out 10 teams of the World Cup and I only want to see like 10 teams so that the games are competitive. But it's not all about the games being competitive. It's about trying to grow the game of rugby, and to do that, you've got to include more populations from around the world. You know, you're inspiring your next rugby generation of taking part in the game of rugby by seeing nations playing, likes of Chile, likes of Portugal, those type of teams, likes of Namibia. Future rugby players could be just around the corner. What terrible luck, Namibia, says Ruth. And how much support does Sanzar give to Namibia? Argentina helps out the South American sides a fair bit, says Fleshin. I don't really know what Sanzar do with their money, to be fair. I wouldn't want to speculate, but I feel like they're putting it in the wrong places, I can tell you that much. If it's better, or is it better that Pinot doesn't score and gets penalty try instead? Says Hanoi. Well, that's the thing. He was almost trying to take away his own try, wasn't he? By saying he was offside, but all that would have happened there is the referee went, okay, you're right, penalty try. You don't get your hat-trick yet. South Africa versus Ireland cancelled due to French strikes, says Calmac. And also we have to get one more try. Norm says Andreas, and yeah, and if Ireland win, it'll be the ref's fault, says Porter Porter. The thing is, I feel like no matter what happens in that game, everyone's not going to accept the result as what it is. That looks like a relatively serious injury here for Dolph Fanor. Is it Pinot? Who is that? It might be Jalabur, actually, who is down. Looks like we are going to have a bit of a stoppage here, ladies and gentlemen. Where is it? Oh, no. It's friendly fire. I think Reda Wardy just clotheslined or swing an arm to the mush of his teammate, who has now stayed down. Well said. I love the smaller teams in the runnings. Can't call World Cup with only 10 teams, says Stefan. Exactly right. I've got there. Never underestimate the Irish. You do so at your own peril, says Ruth. Looks like Cameron Walkie warming back up. Make his way onto the field. Just in case player does end up staying down, which I believe was Bodian. Can't be any yellow cards or anything unless it was his own teammate who does get penalised. We've got there Porter Porter. It'll be the best team, my friend. Nothing else, says Stahl. And also this game will happen even if hell freezes over, says George. Yeah, they do it in the parking lot if they weren't allowed to do it for the World Cup, these two sides. That is how competitive that matchup between South Africa and Ireland has become. The 7-1 split coming with 40 minutes of physicality in the second half, says Blues Nate. Yeah, will be interesting. And definitely because we've seen Ireland going with the 5-3. So it's almost the complete opposite in terms of the fact that they're looking at those back replacements as the ones who will be able to have the real impact. Looks like Bodian now he is going off the field. Cameron Walkie makes his way back out there. When he sees the replay, he'll realise it was Rita Wardy who knocked him out. I've already accepted the result. Well done, Ireland. Says cool story, bro. And also we have got their Sands up at 40 million to Fiji after the 2015 World Cup to help build their scrum and players, says Hero. And the Kiwi delivering the great commentary again, says Stormy there. And yeah, like Ireland, we really played rugby before, and now we are number one. Take inspiration, says Porter. The Pot is injured. He did take a knock to the cheekbone, didn't he? So hopefully he's going to be all right for the future contests. National success spelled from school level. That's why Ireland, New Zealand and South Africa have, which provided the talent pool. Says Burning Lash. Big scrum there from France, but the ball stays on the side of Namibia, who are 22 metres out from the try line now. In fact, back to 30 after that driving from the French defence. Around the side of the breakdown once more. Retief. The carry. They've been close a couple times in this game, Namibia, to getting themselves off that 0 in the game. Should mention the most points we have scored or seen scored by any side in this Rugby World Cup was scored by Ireland, getting themselves 82 points. France are 2 converted tries off tying that. They still had 22 minutes remaining in this match. No one's mentioned the ABs. Says I Cartel. I think that's because they haven't played this weekend and they aren't playing in this weekend's fixtures. They have got the game next weekend though, up against the Italians, I believe, is the next one they've gone with. I really hope the Pont isn't seriously injured enough to keep him out, says Burning Lash. And to one-sided, I'm off, says Trajan. In there as well. 17. No arms tackle. That's going to be against Rita Wardy. He certainly used his arms when he knocked out his teammate in that last challenge. Looks like he's a walking infringement at the moment, Rita Wardy. Throughout this game, the Pont is tough made. French Steel will be okay. Erasmus is not going to Ireland because his contract ends in 2025, says Monet Lagrange. Looks like another change being made. Heron going off the field now. One's been kicked into touch. Namibia 15 metres out. How much time is left? Still 20 minutes remaining on the clock for this game. So still a little bit of time remaining for both of these sides to try and get that last little boost in. I'm really worried. He's already out. Stadium gone to hospital, says Stefan, and Porter is a risk. But if it pays off, then it pays the big bucks. And speaking of the big bucks, Ice Cartel with the donation. Thank you very much, mate. Usually appreciate it. He has got the thumbs up there. Of course, anyone who is new to the channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It is greatly appreciated. You'll be in here for this match. Ball hasn't come out of the rolling maul for Namibia at line-out time. So France, once again, will have themselves another scrum feed. This commentary is the best part about watching rugby. Says Simran, thank you very much. Usually appreciated. I think the best part of the rugby, of course, is having all you guys in the chat throughout these live streams. Does make it a lot of fun. A 7-1 split is a Orasi disco light signalling only. He knows what it's about, says Ruth. And the Islander box game has everyone knots with expectation and nerves. It's fascinating how worked up people can get over a game, says Stahl. I would like to see a championship where second and third tier teams play more against each other throughout the 4-year preparation for the World Cup, says Stefan. Yeah, even like, you know, you chuck Namibia, Uruguay, Chile, Romania, and then you could look at maybe Port, although they've already got the European one, so maybe they wouldn't do that. Tonga, and then also, who's another side that's around that same area? I feel like if Georgia aren't a part of the European one, they could possibly find themselves in there. But like another team along the line somewhere in that grouping, just to have them all play each other, get a little bit more game time under their belt. Oh, knock on there. Going back for another penalty. Japan, says Stefan. Yeah, although Japan, I think their initial goal would be to end up going to their rugby championship. Zimbabwe, says Justin, yeah, or Kenya from the African side of things. USA or Canada as well, says Dwayne. But yeah, like some sort of round-robin competition. Maybe it takes place over 2 years or something, and you play everyone once over that time, and then that's, I guess, your build-up for the World Cup preparation and the fact that you're qualifying, going up against those sides. Namibia, a little bit of a mistake out wide from Grelling. Now France have got themselves another line out. I don't think it's been this hyped. I've been this hyped for a Rugby World Cup before, maybe a soccer, but not a Rugby World Cup, says him. Japan should join Southern Hemisphere as well, says Stefan. Yeah, I think the Pacific Nations Cup is something they may keep going, which is why maybe Tonga won't be considered for some sort of like league between all those teams. We have got the European second tier sideshow part of the Challenge Cup, another penalty to France. Every breakdown at the moment, the Namibians are getting themselves penalised, and it is certainly hurting. I think that time it was Richard Hardwick. He said he didn't hear the referee. I think he was asked there by Lusa why he went into that breakdown. And Erasmus put on the red lights. Says Blues, nay, I'm proud of you, Namibia. At least you tried. Says Berenice there. Now, 18 minutes still remaining. I will mention we have only seen 2 tries throughout the second half for the French, which is a massive improvement for the Namibians compared to that first 40 minutes in which they did concede. I believe it was about 7, no, it must have been 8 tries throughout that first half. Now Kuyu, interception. Here comes Krelling, and it's a foot race. He's decided to kick it forward as he felt he didn't quite have the gas needed back there to cover his Jamane, who gets back up to his feet. Krelling has to be careful not to make that high tackle, but France now inside of their own 22, going to the short side. Pinot passes out wide to Balbari. This is going to be extremely fatiguing for the Namibians, and Balbari, too much pace, runs right across the field and scores the try. That is his first now of the contest. Did you ever hear the song, You Never Bait the Irish? I have not, no. Should Argentina rejoin Super Rugby? It'll be interesting to see what they decide for Super Rugby in the future, because I feel like the inclusion of the Fijian draw as well as Moana Pacifica has really added a lot to the Super Rugby competition. They would, of course, need to rename or rebrand because they are Super Rugby Pacific currently. Irish Rocks this commentary says Roof, but you got to feel for Namibia. They went from attacking of an interception to then France being able to clean it up inside of their 22, go the full length of the field and score themselves another try. We have got any Irish people in here who listen to Rory Gallagher, says Justin. And also they need to join either Super Rugby or the URC, says Burning Lash. And we already are playing a tournament here in South America, says Mikhail. Yeah, they've got Super Rugby Americas, don't they? If I'm not wrong there. I miss the good old days of Super 15, says George. What's next? Match place for the All Blacks. Has they bag place for next round or not, says Coding. So the next match for the ABs is next week. They are going to be playing up against the Italians. Should be an interesting game, seeing as Italy are coming off a couple of big wins. New Zealand still trying to find that form. I think I've seen rumours of reanimating the Higuares, says Gus. And cheers, guys. Enjoy the weekend. And remember, the quarterback can't pass beyond the line of scrimmage, says Good Story Bro. And yes, says Mikhail in the chat there as well. But France, that is now their 3rd try of the half. Namibia could play in the Curry Cup to improve their game. That is actually a very good idea. Having a Namibian side, or 2 well, maybe just 1 to start with, similar to what we saw for, I guess, with the Super Rugby Pacific side of things, how Moana Pacifica came in, the Fijian draw as well. We will go like this. There we go. Mofana is on the field now for Cameron Walkie. France score 100. Says save 20 GZ. I feel like I'm probably already won those save 20. So I feel like we don't need to see the 100 points for that to be confirmed. And, you know, the saying, it takes one to know one. So congratulations, you too. are one of those. And now it's going to be a nice carry forward from Namibia, although lost in the breakdown, or in fact in contact, by the number 5 Luddick. It's always build local 10, expand out, says Gareth. It's going to be kicked out on the full by the Namibians with the Hakiwares. Want to go back into Super Rugby after the shabby way they were chucked out of it? Probably not. I feel like if the money was right for them, they'd probably consider it, but if they feel like they could go elsewhere and be more successful or more appreciated, then they probably would choose that. You really see the drop in Japan and Argentina once they left the Super Rugby, and I guess the perfect example of that is the improvement that we've seen from the Fijian Drua since joining in the Super Rugby Pacific competition. That man has got a massive Rugby World Cup in the stands. Spice Hikawares, I haven't joined the MRL, I should say. America, I would have a huge talent pool to choose from if they were good at rugby. It says Justin forwards determine who wins, backs determined by how much, says Birding Lash. Now Bukhret thrown into Olivon. Still 13 minutes remaining. So we are the champions is English, says Penny Lane. Now short ball, Dante knocks it on. Up the Navs, says Mickey. You can win Namibia. I thought they were wound up, says Yvonne. And also, M, you have a big surprise coming your way, says Stahl. What did M say? I didn't see M's one, I don't think. Now France, having this ball available. Still 12 minutes to get to the 100. Might be a stretch unless, of course, they can score relatively soon. They've got Damien Pinot, now Olivon on the outside, breaking through. One more. Oh, sells the dummy himself, Charles Olivon, and scores the try for Les Bleus, that is, once again. Another one. How much time is left out of this game? Still 12 minutes remaining on the clock. Any thoughts on the new Expendables movie? I'm just glad to see the good old boys back. I haven't actually seen any of the original Expendables movies either. Did the Box not beat Ireland in the home series in 2016 when CJ Stander tried to murder Pat Lambert with his ass? Says Grant. And take a second and hit like, says Yvonne. Yeah, anyone who hasn't already, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. We are back for every single game of this Rugby World Cup competition. So if you are new, you do enjoy what we're doing here, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We've got a few more games just around the corner. Late to the stream, Dante is playing. He is indeed. He has scored himself 2 tries throughout this fixture already. But for anyone wondering about the future games that we have got in this round, Argentina versus Samoa, that will be the game tomorrow morning. We are covering that one on the channel. Georgia versus Portugal, England versus Chile, and South Africa, Ireland. Those 3 games all taking place on the same day. Then Scotland versus Tonga and Wales versus Australia, the last 2 that are taking place for round 3 in the Rugby World Cup. I like Barbie, says Mickey. I know that this Barbie movie came out recently, didn't it? At the same time as that one, Oppenberg, something like that, was the other movie that came out at a very... Oppenheimer, is that? No. It's something with Oppen, somewhere in that word. Namibia need to be banned from World Cup, so I disagree. I feel like at the end of the day, you got to make sure you still got those smaller nations. Oppenheimer, says Gus there. But, I guess if you want Namibia to be banned, you'd be better off looking at ways that they can improve. So whether or not that is by giving them more games up against international opposition, maybe South Africa should send, like someone mentioned earlier on, a South Africa XV game or team over to Namibia, play a 3-match series and give them some more game time so that they can improve, rather than just saying straight away, the team's no good, so we want to get rid of them. I feel like it's a very cop-out answer, rather than going, how can we actually improve rugby as a whole, rather than putting teams down. Oppenheimer, says Gus. I have got there that the Nun 2 was not bad, but not great. World Cup needs to be Tier 1 and Tier 2 teams, says Gorilla Dome, although through the progress, or through the qualification, they made it Namibia. So, you can't just limit it to the top sides, or else then you'll never have those underdogs throughout their World Cup to the extent that Namibia are. And I think their game against Uruguay next week is going to be a very good one. In fact, I mentioned about it. I think that could be one of the best games that we see of this Rugby World Cup, because both sides will go into it with passion, knowing that they are considered huge underdogs in the overall World Cup competition. And they'll go out there playing like their heart can. That's a knock-on from Bilbari. These blowouts do nothing for the spirit of the game. Not good for the players, etc., says Gorilla Dome. Have you asked any of the players about that, though, Gorilla Dome? Because every player that you ask from these smaller nations, when they talk about the fact that they get to make it to the World Cup, they aren't so much concerned about the results, but they love the fact that they're getting the opportunity to play on the grandest stage up against the big teams that they would never get the opportunity to play up against outside of a Rugby World Cup, whether that's the All Blacks, whether that's the Springboks for the lower ranked teams. Every single player that you ask says that they are just happy to be able to go out there, go up against some of their inspiration from when they were younger, and to have that chance on the world stage is just a massive one for those smaller teams. And come to South Africa if you need to improve your rugby, says Stull. Absolutely, sadly, I died during the production, says John. And I don't know, see playing getting the contracts out of being on the World Cup team. Yeah, I feel like the likes of Tarilba for Chile, he is going to be one of those players that if his contract's coming to an end soon, he's got a decent chance going overseas. Are you tired of watching so many tries, Kiwi lad? Not really. No, at the end of the day, like, France have been a good side in this match, and if anything, it means that those other sides that face them definitely will be watching this closely. Their faces don't show that on the field. No joy, says Gorilla Dome. That is because they are fatigued, Gorilla Dome, because they aren't used to playing sides at this kind of tempo. But you look at them after the game, exchanging shirts with the players from the other side as well. Like, those are moments in a rugby player's career for a smaller nation that you only get to dream of. And the fact that they're getting to live those dreams by being at a World Cup, like, yeah. I can guarantee you if you ask 99% of rugby players from these smaller teams, hey, like, did you like getting beaten by a huge margin? And, you know, are you going to go away from this World Cup being sad? They'll all say no. Like, at the end of the day, they're there because they want to play rugby on the biggest level. And this is one of those times that they will be inspired. They'll be looking forward and they'll go, right, we just need to keep on getting better and better. Perhaps get themselves a big contract elsewhere. Also, France playing some guys who would have played in the under-20s. Says Gareth, this looks like some sort of injury here. Is that Thomas Ramos who's down currently? Because if it is, that is the last player that the French want to lose this close to the quarterfinals. Is there a match tomorrow? There certainly is. It is going to be the game between Samoa and Argentina. We will be covering that on the channel. There was a time that Japan would lose by embarrassing points. Great to see them kick the box not so long ago, says Timid. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, Japan, when they were losing 145 points to 17, I bet you there were a whole heap of people saying, get them out of the World Cup. They don't need to be there. And now they've had upset wins over Ireland. They've had upset wins over the Springboks. They've beaten some massive sides in the world stage. New Zealand have been at the Football World Cup. They certainly have. And also so many injuries in this World Cup, says US. That is the one downside, is the fact that we've seen so many injuries for all teams throughout this World Cup. Looks like it's going to be now Kutsia making his way off the field for Shifuka. It's a handshake from the referee as he makes his way off the field. Nice show of respect there from the tight head prop. Vamos Pumas, please, says Mikhail. And they recruited internationals to help them, says Justin. And also Viva la Vida. Luca Roosters are smashing it out the park, says Ruth. Are we going to see a consolation from Namibia, says Andres Lowe? Well, they've been very close to scoring a try already. It was just the cheap shot from earlier on that caused it. But I think if they do end up scoring, it's not going to be a consolation one, because the French, at this point, they have shown nothing but intensity throughout the first 74 minutes of this game. So if they end up conceding, they'll be more annoyed about that than the 10 tries that they've scored. I can guarantee you that. Going to be another scrum penalty in favour of France. We have also got the super sticker from Nate. Thank you very much, mate. Usually appreciate it. New Zealand were the only team to not lose a game at the 2010 World Cup. Very true. We've got the hippo breaking the gaming chair is the little sticker from a Blues name. My bet is calling, so we will see him maybe on either Argentina versus Samoa, or of course those games taking place a little bit closer to the weekend. Don't you think France is very egoistic? Egoistic? I don't even know that word. To be honest, are you going to wear the suit on Saturday? Probably, because it seems to be that the more I don't wear the suit, the more stick I get. But then I also get the questions, why are you wearing a suit when I do wear it? Box by 10, says Gorilla Dome. My turn, it's only 3:45 p.m. Says Yvonne. Thanks for the fantastic stream, mate. Says Scott, thank you very much, mate. Usually appreciated. Rita Wardy going off the back to Buret. Didn't look for the pass to Mofana, who did join the breakdown from the side, so could have ended up being penalised for the French there. Now Charles Olivon tackled. And the ball almost stripped away, but the penalty advantage goes to France once more. Romain Taufifanu, I should mention, they are currently tied with the most tries in a match for this World Cup, and that will be the record broken now for 2023. It is none other than Jaminet, who does get himself that try, and now that is the most points we have seen from a side in this Rugby World Cup as well throughout 2023. Selfish. So, no, I think that France overall have actually been passing the ball very nicely. They've done a complete opposite to what we saw in that South Africa versus Romania game. All the players giving each other opportunities, knowing that eventually it's going to come back around. These blowouts are garbage. They need to adjust their qualification system. Even the officials don't have the sense to control it. Maybe the players need to have some class, says Mr. Hyella. Although we've already talked about it earlier on that even if you take away these lower ranked sides, like, there's still going to be blowouts. Because at the end of the day, we saw Ireland versus Tonga. Some would consider that a bit of a blowout. About a 40-point win for the Irish. Are you saying also kick out Tonga from the Rugby World Cup? How many teams are you sacking? You gotta make those decisions. And to be honest, I feel like 20. People have talked about the teams going out to 32. I don't see that happening, but any less than 20 will not feel like a World Cup. France looking good, says George. And clearly you have to go half suit, Hamish, which half is up to you. I'll put up a poll and let the people decide, says Grant. Now, Thomas Ramos just missing the one kick so far throughout this matchup. That'll make the score 89-0. Just the 3 minutes remaining. Hey, in 1998, Australia beat England 76 points to 0. Says John, Tonga were decent. I reckon they will cause Scotland some problems, says M. There is talk to expand to 24 teams again in 8 years in the US, says Dwayne. But yeah, they'll have to, if they're going to do that, they have to make sure that these lower ranked sides are playing more rugby. That's one thing I'll say. Like, you got to make sure Namibia are getting maybe about 6 games per year playing internationally throughout the international window. Also, a majority of their players playing in overseas leagues or a local competition that can keep them going well. We have got great streaming. Good night, box. Lots of comments on the Saturday if the Irish win, and please God they will. Says Porta, and thanks, the stream was very fun and very enjoyable. Even though we lost, says Berenice. Still 2 minutes to go. Vanil not happy. So maybe they were a bit harsh to be penalised for that one. Now Ramosi will kick for the corner once more. I'm proud of you, Namibia. Says Lindsay in New Zealand, 57-0. Versus South Africa in 2017. Says John, and Porter, good luck, mate. I wish the Box win in South Africa versus France. My mind is saying one thing and my blood is saying something else. And media is littered with bomb squad propaganda. What's the objective take on this? Says Andreas Lowe. There's been a lot of talk about that 7-1 split, that is for sure. And I feel like until we see it in reality, like, it's going to be very hard to comment on it overall. We've seen the Irish go with 5-3. We've seen the Springboks go with 7-1. One of those two sides is going to walk away with the victory, unless, of course, it's a draw. That was a high shot from Bugeret. Should be a penalty to France, should be a penalty to Namibia. But referee saying it's going to be a line out instead. You're falling to the ground, so it's not a high shot. How many times throughout this World Cup, ladies and gentlemen, have we seen high shots from players ducking still be given as penalties? Consistency. That's what we want to see, and that is still what we're not getting throughout this Rugby World Cup from the officials. Clubs have to release all players, national rugby unions, to schedule and break, says Gus. Thanks again, wonderful commentary. As always, see you soon, says George. And now it gives another chance to France, just out from the try line, rolling forward. Bougeret, he will just be short of the try line. It's a penalty try, more than likely a yellow card against the Namibians. Fukali reaching to his pocket, which I know he's wanted to do all throughout the game, and now he gets another opportunity to grab that one out of the pocket. And thanks again, Amish. Later, Jen says M. I love you, Burger. Says Mickey. And also, damn penalty try, says Kawasi. I'm intrigued to know why we haven't seen any replays of that high shot. The one that they said he was falling. Why haven't we had a replay of it then? Officiating makes me more nervous than the actual game does nowadays, says Justin. And also we have the oof, says Gus. They have still got time for the restart, which means there is a chance for the 100 points for the French. 96 on the board currently. To bring it into triple figures for the first time in this Rugby World Cup. Namibia have kicked off high. Nicely taken inside of the 22 by the French. Do they kick this ball into touch or do they keep playing? They are only just out from their own goal line. Looks like they do want to be aggressive. Talfa Fanua there, 30-man Namibia need to hang up their boots. Here's democracy. And also I hope Dupont is okay. There'll be a huge blow to France if it's something serious. Exactly right now, going to the left-hand side here for the French. Wardy, quick hands to Gelfiku. Now passing into touch for Bugeret. That will be the end of the game. 96 points to 0, the win for Les Bleus. And that will certainly put them into number 1 at the moment, the way that the table sits. Sitting at the top of the bunch. 3 wins from 3 for the French. Now I remember the Crusaders were the Super Rugby team that nearly scored 100 points. They beat the Waratahs in 2002. And Ireland, the Springboks coming for you. Better be ready. Cheers, everyone, says Just. And also we have got their cheers, don't speak soon. Vamos, give you lads. Says Blues, Nate, so we will see you later on, mate. But this game, they are still yet to update the scoreboard to say 96 on the board for the French, but a very one-sided affair for them here. Namibia still at their little moments in the contest, almost able to score the try until it was disallowed. But the big talking point here for France will certainly be Antoine Dupont and whether or not he is going to be injured, and if so, how long for that he is going to be missing. We have got the All Blacks and Richie Moore is still awesome, says Roof. France destroyed Namibia, go Box, says Gorilla Dome, and take care, see you soon, says Gus. And there as well, let's all have a drink to the madness of Rassi's mind before it all plays out on Saturday. He's stirred it up again, says Flesh. And okay, France first to qualify and Namibia first to be eliminated. Bring on South Africa versus Ireland, says John there. Thanks again, Hamish, see you tomorrow. If he is injured, just not worth the risk. And thanks, I guess, says Mickey. Yeah, nonetheless, I do thank you all very much for tuning into this live stream. The next one that we have got just around the corner, it is going to be tomorrow morning, Argentina versus Samoa. That is at 3:45 a.m. New Zealand time, or it will be an afternoon game for you guys in the Northern Hemisphere. And South Africa, Georgia, Portugal, England, Chile, and South Africa, Ireland, all taking place on the same day. We will be covering those ones on the channel as well. Then Scotland, Tonga, as well as Wales versus Australia. But thank you all very much for tuning in. I hope you have enjoyed the live stream. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And I will see you all for the next one.